One thing I had to learn the hard way, no in-wall speaker is alike. There's no standard width or length. It's the Wild West pretty much. But even though I had to get creative to patch up the holes left behind from replacing my previous in-wall speakers, I was still really excited to get these babies installed. Let's get into it.
Movies, music.
Hello all you humans on YouTube. My name is Elon Osborne and this is my channel where I talk about movies, audio, and music. And today I'll be reviewing the ELAC debut in-wall speakers. The folks at ELAC were kind enough to send a set of review in-wall speakers, including 2 debut IWDC61s, which I used for my surrounds, and 3 IWDC51s, which made up my front soundstage. The DC61s are a two-way speaker with a 1-inch soft dome tweeter protected by a metal mesh grille and a 6.5-inch aramid fiber cone woofer. Its frequency range dips down to 45 Hz, which is impressive for an in-wall, and goes up to 20 kHz. With a sensitivity rating of 89 decibels, it's pretty darn sensitive. It's recommended to be powered by a receiver or an amp up to 120 watts per channel, so these definitely aren't like your garden variety power-hungry tower speakers. They measure 12.7 inches high, 8.5 inches wide, and 4 inches deep. The IWDC51s are two-way speakers with a 1-inch soft dome tweeter flanked by 2 5.25-inch aramid fiber cone woofers. These also have a frequency range of 45 Hz to 20 kHz with a sensitivity rating of 87 decibels. So not quite as sensitive as the DC61, so they require just a touch more power to bring it up to reference levels. They measure 7.4 inches high, 17.7 inches wide, and 3.4 inches deep. These are actually the only 2 in-wall speakers that ELAC offers at the moment, along with in-ceiling speakers as well. And all their in-wall and in-ceiling speakers are meant to be virtually flush with the wall, only protruding out 4 millimeters. And they come with a white mesh magnetic grille that can be painted if you want to go the extra mile and really have it blend in with the wall. They even come with these little ELAC logo magnets you can stick on if you so choose. But personally, I chose to omit that step. I'm not going to get into installation too much in this review since no 2 in-walls are alike, but it was fairly easy with the DC61s as my surround since they were the same exact width as my previous speakers from InWall Tech. So I just made the hole a bit taller, popped them in, and voila! Installed! Included in each speaker box is a handy-dandy cutout template showing you exactly where to mark your wall before cutting into the drywall. But here's one thing that is very misleading concerning the DC51 speakers. Both online and in the information packet that's included in the box, it shows that these can be installed horizontally above or below the TV if you use it as a center channel. But you'll notice here in the installation section of the packet, it shows that the DC61 and the ICD61 as examples, but the DC51 in-wall is nowhere to be seen. And here's my beef with that. You see, typical studs in an interior wall of a house, at least in the US, are 16 inches apart on center, and the cutout size of the DC51s are 16.4 inches. So you would have to either remove the studs altogether if it's not a load-bearing wall, or if it is a load-bearing wall, prepare for some serious construction and drywall patching since you'll need to basically build some sort of box around the speaker or add in some support beams above and below the speaker spanning across to the adjacent studs on either side. I'll get to how these speakers sound in a minute, but if you are currently having a house built with walls still exposed, or maybe you're converting an unfinished basement into a dedicated home theater, great. Then you can prepare for such a speaker installation before drywall is installed. Ideally, a speaker this long is better suited in a vertical orientation. For example, if you're planning on installing these speakers as your left, center, and right speakers behind an acoustically transparent projector screen, or like in my case, since I was definitely not going to go through all the hassle of installing it horizontally, I installed it vertically underneath my TV, which I could get away with since it's mounted fairly high up on the wall. So despite it being vertically oriented, it's still basically ear level relative to my listening position. Now, I know not everyone can get away with that. So that's why I'm warning you now, because I would still highly recommend these speakers when asking the question, how do they sound? I understand that in-wall speakers aren't for everyone, considering the preparation and hard work that's involved. And because of their low profile design, they typically can't handle as much power as their cabinet-housed counterparts. But there is one thing that sets these speakers apart from every other in-wall speaker under the $300 mark: a backing box. Most, if not all, high-end, very expensive in-wall speakers do have such a high price tag because they have their own backing box. It's not left to the wall cavity to determine how it will sound. It is basically a cabinet-housed speaker designed to fit in the narrow space between your two sheets of drywall. And they can cost thousands of dollars, depending on the brand and style. But these are under $300, and they have a backing box, which other speaker brands just don't offer. And the proof is in the pudding, folks. As I mentioned previously, I had InWall Tech speakers installed, which I thought were pretty decent given their price tag. But if you had seen the review video, I talk about how there wasn't much mid-range at all with those speakers. I even took the liberty of screen capturing an EQ test I did when I sent pink noise through the InWall Tech speakers and the ELAC DC61 speakers after they were installed. And as you can see here, the InWall Tech speakers have this weird plateau here in the middle, and the DC61s have this nice dome-shaped waveform, clearly showing that the mid-range is present once again. Both the DC61s and the DC51s have a nice neutral quality to them, much like an SVS Prime speaker. Dialogue from the center channel is superb with rich detail, no bright harshness, no boominess with deeper voices. Both music and movies sound incredible. Although like most in-wall speakers at this price point, even though I should technically be able to set my crossover to 60 Hz with these speakers considering their frequency response, the system as a whole still seemed to perform better when the crossover frequency across the board was set at 100 Hz. Again, just one of those things with in-walls and how they rely on the front baffle being anchored to the wall to provide any bass extension whatsoever. Until I can afford in-walls that are $1,000 a piece and can test my theory of those being able to handle 60 Hz crossover better, for now, I'll just stick to a crossover somewhere between 80 and 100 Hz because it sounds tremendous. Even though I put it off for a few weeks, knowing I'd have some serious construction ahead of me, I am very happy with the result of these speakers. But I do wish ELAC was more transparent about the DC51 and how it's not going to be ideal in the traditional sense of easily being installed horizontally. But you won't find another in-wall speaker remotely close to this price point that includes a backing box and some nice quality mounting brackets that latch onto the drywall. So, who are these speakers for? Well, do you already have an existing house and want to install them horizontally into a load-bearing wall? Then no. Unless you're a contractor or really good with handiwork or can pay someone to install it correctly and patch up the drywall, etc., then yes, they're for you. Do you plan on using 3 DC51s as your front soundstage behind an acoustically transparent projector screen? Then yes, that's the most ideal situation for these speakers, and they sound superb, especially being under $300. Do you have a TV mounted fairly high, allowing you to mount the DC51 vertically below it? Then yes. Again, you'll love the sound that they reproduce. Do you plan on having 5 or even 7 DC61s as your ear level speakers? Then hell yeah, anyone could do that option since they fit easily between 2 studs. Bottom line is, in-wall speakers are never easy, but they can be so worth it in some situations. Since they look virtually invisible, they are unobtrusive, not protruding out like a mounted speaker, and these ELAC speakers in particular sound as good as I had hoped. Well worth the effort in the end. And lastly, in-wall and in-ceiling speakers always get a thumbs up from significant others who don't want big, bulky speakers that are an eyesore, taking up unwanted space in a nice living room. And sometimes, that's all the reason you need. Am I right?
And there you have it.
Thank you for watching this review on the ELAC debut DC51 and DC61 in-wall speakers. I hope you learned something along the way, and I hope I was candid enough with you to help you on your home theater journey. Are in-walls and in-ceiling speakers on your home theater wish list? Let me know in the comments below. Remember to be kind to each other out there. Don't just watch TV and movies, experience them. And of course, always be listening.